Something's wrong yet. We'll call the regular meeting in the New Ulm City Council for Tuesday, April 16, 2019, 4:30 p.m. to order. First item on the agenda is your consent agenda items. What's your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve those.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion on any? Seeing none, entertain a motion to accept.
Oh, we did the motion.
Oh, sorry.
Just the vote.
No more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 2.1, raffle gambling permit for the New Ulm Girls Fast Pitch Softball Association, and that's for June 15, 2019.
I'll offer the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 2.2, temporary on sale intoxicating liquor license for the Lynn House Association, and that's for May 10th, 2019.
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3.1, advertising for an economic development director, assistant city manager position. Go ahead, Shauna.
Thank you, President and Councilors. Shauna Boomgarden, Human Resources Director. I just wanted to let the council know that the posting and advertising for the Economic Development Director, Assistant City Manager is ready to go. It will be posted right away tomorrow morning through the May 15th at 4 p.m. The city personnel and I and City Manager Dalton spoke about the process. We'll use the same process that we used when Chris was hired. So the PUC or the City Personnel Committee will be a part of that process throughout. So any questions about that?
Any major changes to the job description?
No, we had obviously just done it about a year ago, so no major changes at all.
Any more questions for Shauna? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have to have a motion? No, that's just notification. Okay. Now we're going to break away from the agenda a little bit. We got Derek Ringhand here. He'd like to make a little presentation.
Thank you so much for accommodating me on such short notice. I just mainly wanted to come by and introduce myself. I work for Congressman Hagedorn over in Mankato in our district office over there. I just wanted to come give our kind of a face to our office and a name to our office. I'll hand out some business cards right away, right afterwards. And I just want to encourage you guys, please just reach out to me if you have any immediate concerns for your city or even for yourself. You know, that's if there's something that we can do at the federal level, we love to help if possible. So that's mainly the message I wanted to give to you today. My card has my address on it, but for the folks that are sitting in the audience, we're in the old Brett's building, if anyone knows where that is. So we're on the 3rd floor in suite 301. So please reach out to us. You can also find that information on our website. So I just wanted to mainly just broadcast that. So I appreciate it, sir.
So you can
Thank
pass
you.
Highway 14 then? You can get some pressure on the state people?
Not exactly, from my understanding. Our office is very interested in it. I was at the Highway 14 testimony and I actually met the mayor there. And from my understanding, all the money's been allocated, you know, so it's really just a matter of time for MnDOT essentially. But I mean, if there is a hiccup, we would obviously love to help out with that. I know the congressman really, really wants to see that get done.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
It's been about 50 years. It's in the time's
It's
up.
time. It's time.
You're right.
It is. 59 and a half.
59 and a half.
Thank you.
Isn't that already giving one?
Yep.
Anybody have any questions for him?
Thank you, sir.
No, no.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. We'll go on next item. Item number 4, city manager offer of employment. Shauna?
All right, thanks, President and Councilors. City Attorney Hippert, the City Personnel Committee, and I met together to talk about the offer of employment for new City Manager Christopher Dalton. And what we had talked about, we sat down with Chris last Tuesday, the City Personnel Committee and I, We are recommending is initial compensation at the second year rate for this position, and then to move that, after 6 months of employment, we would move that to the third year rate. Vacation accrual, right now, Chris is at the 7 to 8 year rate, so we'd move that to the 9 to 10 year rate for accrual. And then monthly vehicle allowance would move from, I believe it's 217 to 482 per month for the vehicle allowance. And then Chris would also be considered an at-will employee.
So no contract.
No contract.
I'm going to go ahead and approve the appointment of Christopher Dalton to the position of mayor effective April 17th.
Mayor?
Mayor.
I don't
Mayor?
know about city
I
manager.
think he wants to be city manager.
To the position of city manager.
Second.
Sorry about that.
Now, which is it gonna be?
We'll get a little cheaper rate probably, huh? I don't know.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to item number 4.2, Park and Rec splash pad installation. Mr. Schmitz.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department. President Schmitz and councilors, you have before you a recommendation from the Park and Recreation Commission. On April 8th of this year, they reconfirmed the recommendation that they made last November 15th, and that is to place the splash pad in Harmon Park. You have before you all the information about the proposed location and reasons behind it that staff supports are the fact that there's restrooms and a shelter building in Harmon Park, a little bit of off-street parking, and the utility costs will be significantly less there than the other finalists of Nels Park and Riverside Park.
Tom, can you talk about, obviously parking is a concern that everybody has about this particular location. Can you tell me what your committee talked about with that issue?
Well, Harmon Park is our central athletic park, I would say, and it's home to many softball games and tournaments, and it's, that neighborhood is used to activity and motor vehicles. So it's a complementary amenity to the existing amenities at the recreational complex of Harmon Park. And neither staff nor the commission had any significant concerns over traffic or parking.
Has there ever been any consideration to move that baseball park, the one that's right up on Garden, move that back to create more parking up there?
Well, over the past couple of decades, there have been a number of conceptual discussions and conceptual designs and plans to alter some of the athletic fields in Harmon Park. And there is potential in the future for the city to consider something like that, to have expanded off-street parking in, for instance, Field 1 or Field 2. We would not recommend that at Field 3, which is the new one up against Center Street. So down the road, if the city council and others would like us to look into that, we certainly could.
How about not down the road, but now? You start looking at it. It's going to be an issue.
We certainly can look into that.
Well, it's something that I've talked to Tom and Ryan to some extent about possibly, look at removing one of the softball fields and reconfiguring another one to extend kind of that gravel lot going down Garden Street to have parking there. That it's nothing there's no funds available that's allocated to it, but it is something that, Tom, Ryan, and myself are aware that that's probably an issue, and we can look at what that would cost and see, what the possibilities are. But it is on the radar.
I do want to make one comment while my voice holds out. I sit on the Park and Rec Commission. Yes, they did approve it. I did get a phone call, though, several months ago, the city of New Ulm. We had people here testifying. Why are you having the voting polls and whatnot down in Harmon Park? Get it where it's safe. Now you people want to put 50 little kids crossing the street in a splash pad. I told the individual I would bring it up to council. They didn't think it was a safe location.
I guess my thinking behind it is why why hasn't any consideration been given to Washington or Lincoln? We have the wading pools there, that the splash pad is for younger children anyway. Why wouldn't we incorporate it into one of those areas?
Our proposed plan for Lincoln and Washington parks and the wading pools would be that when they degrade, when they wear out, we would recommend replacing them with a splash pad. And so there's aquatic amenities in both those two parks now. We're bringing a third aquatic amenity to the community, and I would recommend that we spread that out as opposed to putting two aquatic amenities, side by side in one park. But when the wading pools do wear out, they are aged. We've been maintaining them quite well, but when they wear out, I would recommend not replacing them with wading pools, but replacing them with splash pads.
For what reason?
Because there's zero depth. I mean, there's no standing water, and a splash pad is available for all abilities and all ages, whereas, the wading pool has got standing water and
But they're used a lot. Since we have it at no charge, the number of attendants has doubled. And I personally take my own grandkids up there, they love it. I mean, there's people that come in from other towns just because of that, because it's ideal. It's not deep. They can put the kids in there and they can run in it.
they are very popular and well-maintained, and down the road, as they need to be replaced, that's something we'll have to be talking about, is whether we want to have, standing water, another basin, another swimming pool, so to speak, or a splash pad that all abilities would be able to utilize.
I guess I agree with Dave. I just cannot support Harmon. I just don't believe it's the right spot. We got just too much down there already. I don't think it's a good spot, personally.
I did, our donor made this donation of $115,000, the entire cost of the splash pad. We're paying for the hookup fee, which is minimal. And in conversations that Tom has had with her, they've worked it out, and she supports this location. So I don't want to do anything that would discourage our donor. So I think we should go with it. With the understanding that we look at trying to solve that parking issue, or at least resolve it to some degree down there. So it's a win for everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and offer a motion to approve the splash pad installation, and ask that Park and Rec have some discussion about addressing the parking issue down there.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I guess I've got a question about the,
Don't you
what
need
the
a second
motion.
first?
Would make some sense.
Do we have a second?
Oh.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any discussion, Roger?
Thank you. I've got a question about what's before the council. Is this just the location? I mean, there's no contract. I don't know if the intention would be to send out RFPs, or you don't have to do the competitive bidding, but you're not selecting a contractor or a contract or anything. Is that correct, Tom?
Correct. This is just identifying the location.
And then
so
you'd
we
move
can
on
move
after you
forward
know
with
where.
details.
Then you can, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what we got from the donor was the exact, what they did in Red Wing when they donated one in Red Wing. They gave us all the information for what they did in Red Wing, the cost, the pamphlet, the size, location, everything, so that we wouldn't have to do some of that work. But yeah, I think we still got to put it out for bids and do it the right way.
So wasn't it original, when the money was donated, that Harmon wasn't the favorite spot? So
Yes, that
why
is
did
correct.
it change?
I don't know. But the donor is supportive of this location, so.
That's correct.
I guess you go over the reasons of why German Park is eliminated again. What was,
As in item 10 depicts in the overview, German Park is, the primary use of German Park is performing arts and special events, including weddings, and then the concerts. And so we think we just replaced the playground there. That's going to bring additional activity and the potential of, audible activity to the park. Adding a splash pad is going to bring more youth and more noise and audible impact to concerts and/or weddings or special events that take place in the park.
And I'm going to comment on that again. Since the phone call I got, and you just said it, adding youth. So we had numerous adults here again, like I said, for one voting session, how dangerous it is, but let's plop 50 kids running across the street, and none of us have a problem with that? I do. I changed my mind since the Park and Rec meeting, after that phone call. I mean, we went along with testifying with all these adults, it's not safe, fatality and whatnot, but let's plop 50 kids running across the street to the splash pad. I won't support it now. Not at the location, excuse me.
Any more discussion?
Maybe we table it and come back with another alternative location for the night. Or concept plan and detailed plan of how we're gonna get parking or safe drop-off for that location.
I think the hope from the donor was to have this installed this fall. My concern is we don't want to lose this donation.
Right, we don't want to do that. But our next meeting, what would be May? You know, if they come back with is that couple weeks gonna throw it off that much?
Is she really opposed to a different location? Is that what she's telling us?
I have presented her these location, the finalists of our various locations, Nels Park, Riverside Park, German Park, and Harmon Park. And she is very excited about Harmon Park.
Her original discussion, she wanted it centralized, she wanted kids to be able to get to it, she wanted it to be free. That was kind of her discussions at some point, but.
And Harmon Park is in the middle of the city, equidistant between Goosetown and the Hilltop Island.
But we have no parking. The only parking we got there is residential streets. That parking lot holds nothing.
It is a very small parking lot. We certainly can look at changing that, such as Field 1 that we spoke of. You know, and until this thing gets built and we get through a season, I'm not sure that we're certain about what the traffic patterns are going to be.
Well, I would hope it gets used. If it's not going to get used, we don't need it. So the traffic patterns, I hope, are great.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to look at, that we're going to have kids using it.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I have a concern with just the water going splash and then down the drain. We're wasting a lot of water.
No,
If we would have it filtered, if we would have it chlorinated, like they are in the pools, in the wading pools, the water would be reused.
Adding a filtration and sanitation system will significantly increase the cost and the maintenance and operation of the facility.
This doesn't run water all the time. It only runs water, I think, when there's activity.
Push a button and you get a little bit of mist. You can set the timer for any amount of time you want, 1, 2, 3, 5 minutes, but it's a mist.
And I'm going to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but I'm going to interrupt you because I'm assuming that you have not been to Cologne, you have not been to Carver, you have not looked at the splash pads that they have, that kids are in for hours and having fun. Yes, if we would have to put a whole new filtration system in, very expensive. But you've got one at Washington, you've got one at Lincoln. My opinion.
Those may need to be increased in size and replaced to handle the additional bather load and volume of water, adding that to the wading pool.
But we don't know that. You're assuming.
I'm assuming a greater bather load and volume of water will be an increase in sanitizing costs.
Tom, do you have any estimates on the water usage, what the water usage would be, and who's going to pay for the water? Is that going to come out of the Park and Rec budget?
Yes,
okay.
yes, that would be in the Park and
And
Rec budget.
do we have an estimate of the use of water for that?
Our estimate would be similar to flooding the rinks during the winter time. This is a seasonal amenity, and we use potable city water to flood the ice rinks at Harmon Park during the winter, and it's a reasonable amount of money, a few $1,000s.
I guess I would be in favor of tabling it a couple of weeks and maybe talk to who has the other splash pads, see what their water usage is, see what the cost would be, as far as the filtration system and the. and,
Red Wing has the exact
Red Wing.
model of this that's being
You know.
proposed.
It is probably quite a bit of water just going down the drainer, but, and then figuring out a location.
If we're going to table it, then I would like to see if we could get a guesstimate cost to put this into German Park. I know that it's probably away from the water, but there's a men's or one of the bathrooms are over. I assume it would be back by the playground, right? If it was to be there.
We looked at a location between the women's restroom and the playground
Yeah.
where the big rock is. We're not certain it would fit in that location.
But you could check.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
I think we have to do a little more research on this and decide. Like Dave, I will not support Harmon. I just don't think it belongs there.
I think it would get used, but I'm concerned definitely about the parking and a drop-off space or crosswalks, or if there would be bump outs for kids or a narrowing for the kids, to cross the street, or if we come up with a long-term plan. How it's gonna happen. So if we would install it this year down there, and then in 2020, have another plan of how we're gonna correct other, like a phase 2 with it, but.
Maybe there's
I-
potentially bump outs at First North and Garden, or possibly a mid-block crossing,
Something,
north or south of that intersection.
But they're still parking on the street.
yeah.
If you go down and put it in German Park, you got all the room down behind the park. You got a lot more parking space down there. You got less traffic. You got less traffic at Washington, you got less traffic at Lincoln. There's a lot more places to put it.
There are a number of parks in our community, yes. Those parks that we've mentioned do not have off-street parking. And, there would be people crossing streets, whether it's at Lincoln, Washington, Nels, Riverside.
But there's less
German's
traffic.
got a small parking lot,
But the
yes.
streets have a lot less traffic. Safe routes to school is on Washington, I know. Right, Sydney? All right.
I would have to say that I don't think that would want to put a splash pad where there's a pool, a wading pool in the same park. I think you should spread
I
it out.
just think it'd be great for the kids to run from one to the other.
Yeah, but I would like to see it in a park that does, that doesn't have a water
To
park.
get more use in the other parks.
Kind of spread it out.
I like the idea of German Park,
Mhm.
something for the kids to do, while,
Right.
people are playing baseball or.
I see some concern with
Performances,
what
but-
Tom is saying. If you have your Monday night concert series and you got a bunch of kids in the splash pads squealing and hollering and having fun, it's going to take away from
But that's
some of
one day
the,
out of the week.
turn it off during that time, right?
There's Monday night concerts and Wednesday night concerts during the summertime.
Play louder. I don't know. We do
Not
have
to-
a-
Not
go
to
ahead.
slow this down any, is it possible for us still to go out and get, wherever we put this thing, the cost is gonna be the same, not the utilities, but the cost of the splash pad?
Yes, of
That
the
should not-
basic unit.
Well, the donation is for 115,000.
I mean, whether we do this misting spray pad at German or Washington, wherever, it's the same cost. Utilities might be, it's the same. So
It's-
why
yeah,
slow it down? The next council meeting, let's authorize Tom to go out, get the cost of just the splash pad. Why slow it down? When we approve a place, put it in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be the same, this pad style is gonna be the same no matter if it's in Flanders State, but it's gonna be the same. Not to slow it down.
Yeah, my concern if we slow it down, because it was built in Red Wing a year ago, so it's been operating for a full year. Their costs certainly don't go down. I mean, that's what they paid for that park in Red Wing, so. I hate to put it off for another year, because then the costs are gonna go up again. But we got a little bit of time yet, so.
But we do have a motion in a second.
Well, I can rescind my motion for, if you want to table and take a look at, we need to make sure we're specific with Tom what we want him to do, though. I rescind my motion.
Is that what you did?
You rescinding your motion?
I did rescind my motion. If
Do I have
he's,
to second that?
Okay,
okay, now we can make a new motion.
all right.
I'm not making, I had a motion.
I'll offer a motion to table the splash pad and to bring it back with further details for defined location to the council, and to bring back the next process of getting estimates for installation at a location yet to be determined.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? then?
So could that, and so I'm clear on that for Tom too, that, so we could look at, still at Harmon Park with maybe an estimate of what it would cost to expand that parking lot. And then to also take a look at German Park as potential, what it would cost for hookup costs down there and if it'll fit.
I think we have to have all the numbers. We can't just start guessing. If we're gonna put it down in Harmon Park, and we're gonna start moving baseball fields and stuff like, or softball fields, we're talking some major dollars, and we're gonna need to know that.
Yeah?
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
There's mud.
All right. Item number 4.3, Recreation Center boiler replacement. Tom, again.
President Schmitz and councilors, the Park and Recreation Commission has recommended to move forward with approving the plans and specifications, ordering advertisement for bids, set bid opening date, and authorize staff to receive and open bids for the budgeted 2019 Recreation Center boiler system replacement project. The bid opening would be Thursday, May 9th at 2 p.m. right here in City Hall Council Chambers. This is a planned and budgeted project, and the consultants have prepared the plans and specs and bid package. As you see in the budgetary and fiscal issues, the engineer's present estimate is significantly less than the funds budgeted.
That's good.
Any more discussion? Any questions for
Just
Tom?
want to make sure that we're including enough for opportunities for building on for our future renew projects, so this is going to have the capacities and to tie on to our projects that the consultant is aware of.
Sure. Council President, councilors, I'm going to put up on the projector the proposed plan that was developed. There are a couple of details to point out. I'll just keep talking. So what we did is there's 3 boilers in the current project with space right next to the 3 for a 4th, and it'd be minimal hookup down the road. The 3 boilers gives you 2 of the 3 boilers is full capacity, so 1 boiler is redundant, and then a 4th boiler could be easily tied into the system for any future renew projects. So you can see the 3 boilers here, and then the 3 pumps are over here, and these are 2 domestic hot water heaters. So we have full redundancy in the system. We have 3 pumps where 2 are needed. We have 2 domestic hot water heaters where 1 is needed, and they'll all be in a rotating system to extend wear and have equal wear. So that allows quite a bit of expansion future in the, if there is a need in the future for any renew projects.
So when we're building the renew, we'll have to add another boiler.
Possibly. The renew projects are still in preliminary design phase. I still believe in our discussions that they're talking about self-contained systems in a lot of these spaces because of the distance away from the boiler room. So it kind of gives us freedom to go either way with the design, but it's going to be up to those expert or the professionals that we hired to give us the best process there. But if we build on, for instance, that new pool area, more than likely, that's going to be a whole new system, self-contained, just for that small area. So, but it definitely gives us the freedom to do that. The other thing we did do in the design was we're going to utilize the north mechanical room boiler to heat the system while we do the conversion. So we should minimize the interruptions to both programming and staff and customers while we do the conversion.
How long for the conversion?
I'm still working out the preliminary, but somewhere in about the month of August is going to be the conversion time.
Open for?
Yeah. Okay. The actual shutdown of the facilities, the pool and the locker rooms is going to not be a month long, but that's our construction window because that's the minimal programming window between swimming lessons and overall users. So we are on, that schedule reflects that construction window of August.
Ryan, have we had any discussion with our architect and our project manager in conjunction with this?
Yes, they're aware of
They're
this
aware of
project.
it, and
Yep.
they,
Yep.
Any more questions?
I'll offer resolution waive the reading to get the bids.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer resolution waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmidt?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Item 4.4, consider award contract for the 2019 MSAS Improvement Project. Mr. Kaler.
Thank you, Mr. President. A week ago, authorized staff opened bids on the 2019 MSA Improvement Project. This is one of the 4 projects within the city's capital improvement plan, and it's a reconstruction of 5th North Street from Garden to North Highland Avenue. In addition to the request for council action form, you also have in your packet a contract award recommendation from the consulting engineer and a bid abstract as well, which compares the engineer's estimate to the bid received. When we opened bids, we received 1 bid from a local contractor in the amount of approximately $2.7 million, which was about 25% above the engineer's detailed estimate of just over $2.1 million. In analyzing the bids, we didn't see any unusual inflated prices. Most are probably 50 to 60% of the cost above the engineer's estimate was in material costs associated with piping materials and also with concrete costs like curb and gutter, sidewalk, driveway pavement, and of course concrete pipe. And in addition to that, I feel that, the higher unit costs really reflect the difficulty in fully reconstructing that roadway and underground utilities in that narrow right-of-way. We did go through the Office of State Aid. They concur with our recommendation of award. So with that, if you have any questions, I will attempt to answer them, but we are recommending award. A little over $2 million of this amount will be paid for by federal and state aid gas tax.
That's a good thing. I know 5th North is in my ward, and it's been in rough shape. Maybe not as bad as your street, but pretty bad. So I'm going to go ahead and offer the award contract. 2019 MSAS Improvement Project, M&R Paving, the amount of $2,691,674.44.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4.5, ordinance number 19-032, 5th series, second consideration.
Mr. President, looks like all the staff who were working with this with me are not in attendance tonight, so I guess it'll fall to me. We kind of summarized this at the first consideration. Staff feels quite strongly it's important that the city adopt this new ordinance. It addresses a number of areas that are just not currently in our existing code, dealing with the possibility of small cell antennas. It also, I think, gives some further explanation about what is going to be involved when citizens or businesses need to use the right-of-way. So it's just a clarification of those matters, and I would ask that the council approve it.
Thank you.
Is that what this ordinance is?
Actually, this one's for the interim use permit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Um,
Okay.
But
You
we'll
know-
go on that one too.
All right.
Yes.
One of these nights.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
And as far as the interim use permit, I think this is something that we should, as a city, pass, because it gives us flexibility in the future to test out, different things that we might not be used to doing, but it gives us the flexibility to pull it back and say, well, you can only do this for a year or
Yeah.
whatever, and it doesn't stand with the property for a long time. So it gives us that flexibility to try new things, and if they don't work, we have that right to pull it back or deny a permanent use. So.
Sounds great.
I'm going to offer the resolution, or it's not a resolution. I'll make the motion, waive the reading and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Offer the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
It's not a resolution.
It's
Oh,
not
it's
a
a
resolution.
Not a resolution.
It's a
Mr.
second-
President,
Okay.
my
Or
suggestion
would you
is
like-
it should be a resolution.
Right.
Should
when
be.
we're
Yeah, because
adopting
it's a
the
second
ordinance.
consideration, so we're finalizing it.
Right, and I
Yeah.
think that should be by
Yeah.
resolution, you're
Yeah.
correct. So
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading to approve or
Second.
adopt.
All right, we have a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.1, Brown County Assessing Services.
Counselors, this is an agreement they send out every few years just to continue on with the assessing services. We've been using theirs, using the county since 1989, and this is just, it's a reasonable increase. It goes in line with where they've been in the past. So it would take us through the year 2022.
I'll offer the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.2, Long-Term Power Proposal. Nicole? Abdul?
Counselors, this is something we've talked about doing for a while. It's something that takes a considerable amount of time to complete. What it will do is it will take into account all of our upcoming projects, large projects, little projects, things that need to be done within some of the different funds. They'll consider all the revenue sources going forward. They can make some reasonable predictions on where property tax rates may or may not go, what we may or may not need to bond for. So it'll give us a plan, and I believe they go 10 or 11 years into the future with those plans. So what it really is doing is building on what we've started with the fund, with the 290 fund, what we do with the fire and the building funds, and it takes it a little bit farther and gives us some more detail and some more information to build on. I believe once we have the plan from them in place, it's something that we can continue as staff to build on into the future.
And this will give you that list of assets that you guys had asked for. So our park projects, what are those coming online, the city projects and everything. So you'll be able to have that information in front of you and see when those are going to be coming up. So you have that information.
One question, Nicole, the contract here says through 2023, you said 10 years?
Yeah, it's only 5 years.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
only
I guess I was looking at
Five
one of their sample plans in the.
Okay.
Yeah.
but yeah.
One question I do have, are they going to plan with the renew? Do we have projected numbers
Yes.
with 2 years that could
I've
come
already
up?
had some conversations with them about that, and they've already looked at some of what the work we do use for budgeting before they came up with the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Mr. President, I'd just like to point out, this is kind of an unusual document. It's set up like a contract, but it's not really a contract. I mean, it's essentially their proposal and some marketing information, and then it concludes by saying that everyone's agreeing to it. Because they do have the cost amount in there, and they do have some deadlines, and they are fairly specific. It's probably not the best way of having a contract, but I think it would work, so.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
And then
Any more discussion? Go
one
ahead.
other item, it is a non-budgeted item, but I did have a website that I was going to intend on doing this year. But since we got Retail Strategies on board, they're going to provide a lot of the data that the website I wanted to go with provides. So the $10,000 that I had budgeted for that, we can use towards this item.
Okay.
Okay.
And I thought the cost of the $9,500 cost is very reasonable for that type of work, so. I'm going to offer a motion to approve the long-term proposal provided by Abdo, Edict, and Myers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? See it none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.3, 2020 budget calendar and schedule budget work session. You got that all in front of you, a big, long list.
The only thing really left in question there was that first work session. I know last year we did a work session really before we got too far into the budget, and there weren't a lot of numbers or anything available. So I don't know if that was something you wanted to try and do again, or if we want to just consider what you guys have discussed in your work sessions already as we go into the budget season. I wanted to leave that up to you guys.
We probably can use our current work sessions, I think, versus a
Right.
special one.
I would agree with that. Just put it on for the second council
Use one of our
meeting
topics.
for the
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, we can assign it to a
discussion.
work session. I mean, we're doing work sessions, so we just assign that
Yep, assign that
as
number one.
dedicated to the budget.
So maybe if you work that date in there.
Yep.
With that, I'll approve the calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? See it none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.5, performance and payment bond for the new columbarium, something like that.
There's a
Columbarium.
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 Where dead people are.
This was an item that had come before you, and when looking into the contract, there was performance and payment bonds that weren't listed in the RFP that probably should have been in there, and it is something that we would like to be part of the contract, and it's additional cost to us of $1,220. Because we would normally ask a contractor to have that as part of their agreement. It was just an oversight in the RFP, and the company was very much a stickler. It wasn't in the RFP, so we didn't include it in our proposal. So we're asking to get that additional fund covered to cover our basis, so we can get the columbarium moving.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
I'll authorize the motion to
Second.
approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.5, task order number 2015-02 for airport engineering services. Mr. Kaler.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have some areas around the northern 3T hangars and another hangar on the airport that the pavement has degraded to the point where we're looking at a full reconstruction. We'd like to schedule that for 2020. In order to get a jump on that, we're requesting that the council authorize the engineering services to develop that plan that will bring it to contract award. You have a task order number 2015-02 with scope of services and estimated fee schedule totaling $40,062. It is a contingent on the availability of federal and state funds, which are part of the reimbursement program. They'll fund about 95% of this cost. Again, it's not the actual construction, but we need to move ahead with the engineering services. And I recommend approval and authorization of execution of the agreement.
And we can get payments of 95%. I'll approve those every day. So I'll go ahead and approve this
Second.
request.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.6, task order number 15-03 for the airport engineering services. Mr. Kaler again.
Thank you, Mr. President. Second of 3 task orders I have before you this evening. The airport has been experiencing increased wildlife activity, particularly badgers, deers, and migratory birds, particularly Canadian geese. We do not have a perimeter fence or any other operational characteristics to mitigate this wildlife hazard. In our discussions with the FAA, the federal side of the Aeronautics Division, their recommendation is to fund a wildlife hazard assessment. What that is a consultant or a biologist comes on site for 2 days, makes a visit, looks at what's going on, and then follows up with a report to the city and the FAA. You have the task order in front of you for $16,451, and again, this is reimbursed by federal funds at 95%. So my recommendation is to move ahead with this and see what we come up with. It
Sounds great.
would,
Thank you.
mitigate some of our liability.
I'll up for the motion.
Second.
Not working, mine.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 5.7, task order number 2015-04, airport engineering services. Mr. Kaler.
Thank you, Mr. President. The third task order is for development of a concurrent land use plan, and the reason that we need to proceed with this particular document is to construct the storm sewer piping across airport property to serve the armory
See if this will open up.
parcel that is going to be constructed hopefully late this fall or perhaps next year. Because of the depth of the sewer pipe, we can't fit it in the MnDOT right away, and our initial discussions with MnDOT Aeronautics is that this is not a big issue, but we have to go through the hoops. The cost of this task order is $26,113. It is not eligible for reimbursement from either state or federal funding, but I did have that amount of money in the airport consultant services for this year's budget if you want to proceed with this, and we do recommend it.
I'll
Thank
move
you.
it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.8, temporary construction easement for the 2019 MSAS improvement project. Mr. Kaler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that you've authorized the award of the 2019 MSAS improvement project, the 5th North Street reconstruction project, as I've mentioned several times, that's a narrow 60-foot wide corridor. The sidewalks are basically right on the property line. In order to properly reconstruct that project, we've had to acquire or make an offer to acquire 10 temporary construction easements. I have a list of those in front of you. They total just over $8,000, and there's also a map within the your packet that kind of shows the area. They basically are a 10-foot wide strip in most areas. A couple areas we have to go back and grab some driveway concrete. The consultant and I did meet with all the property owners and have the signatures of the documents. I did run them through the city attorney's office, and I recommend that these be authorized, and we will send the checks out and get the project built.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
Second.
We got a motion, a second to offer the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.9, set bid opening date for 2019 North Highland Avenue Improvement Project. Mr. Kaler.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the roundabout project on North Highland at Oak Street. We have the plans completed and signed and over at the state aid office. Actually, they've been signed by the state aid office, so we'd like to set the bid opening date for this project for May 15th. And
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? The offered resolution waived reading, sorry about that. No more discussion. Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.10, set a date for a public hearing on the 2019 surface reconstruction project. Mr. Gailey.
And the last engineering item is the fourth project within the capital improvement plan, the surface reconstruction project by Street Department. We'd like to set the public hearing for Tuesday, May 21st. And you have a list of the areas. There's 12 blocks as usual on your request for council action. We will send out notices.
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
It's a very good day.
Seeing none? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Did a real good job, Steve. You had a whole page.
You can go home now, Steve. You're done.
Now, after Tom softened you up, it was easy.
Item 5.11, set a date for public, I better go to this one. Keesing House lease agreement, Mr. Schmitz.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department. President Schmitz and councilors, you have before you a recommendation to authorize a lease agreement with the Brown County Historical Society to operate historical programming at Keesling House. Kathleen Backer, the leaseholder of the past 3 years, has offered wonderful programming, historical programming, and and desires to have her lease terminated, which you have in the packet. I've had meetings with her and Historical Society members. I feel it's a very appropriate professional group to take over historical programming at the Keesling House, especially something that the Park and Recreation Department will not need to offer and program. So my recommendation is to authorize staff to work with the Historical Society and the city attorney to draft a lease agreement with the Historical Society to operate programming at Keesling House.
Thank you. Any questions for Tom?
Tom, the lease actually expired on March 31st or March 1st?
I think it was a 30-day or 60-day notice for lease termination.
Okay.
We have Kathleen Backer and representatives of the Historical Society here if you'd like to ask them any questions.
Tom, excuse me, Mr. President Schmitz, the only question I had is just to confirm so the council understands what your recommendation is as far as the payment of the utilities on the Keesling House in the new lease. What are you recommending?
Yes. I'm recommending a similar arrangement that we have at Riverside Park for environmental education programming. Presently, the leaseholder pays the utilities in the winter 6 months, and the city has been paying, or the city's been paying the winter 6 months, and the tenant has been paying the summer 6 months. I recommend that we have a similar arrangement as we do at Riverside Park, and the city handles utility payments 12 months of the year for this service at Keesling House.
Any
So-
questions for Tom?
At least it'll come back to us then, right, when that gets prepared?
Yes, yep.
With that, I'll go ahead and move the recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Just a thank you to Ms. Backer for her 3 years of time spent with the programming at the Keesling House. Didn't hear me.
More discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.12, nominate Pollinator Park as Monarch Way Station. Tom?
President Schmitz and councilors, the Park and Recreation Commission reviewed this and recommends that we allow nomination for designation of a Monarch Way Station through an international registry at our Pollinator Park. The volunteer advocates of this park, led by Deb Steinberg, who's in the audience here. If you have any questions for her, there's a very minimal cost in placing ourselves on the registry. We already meet the criteria and requirements, and there's potential for monarch tourism to come to our community. Just like there's a lot of birders that go birding, there are a lot of monarch and pollinator enthusiasts that travel to these locations, and we will be listed on their international registry for a very nominal fee.
I'll author the motion to go ahead with the nomination of the Pollinator Park.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Great idea.
Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom. Oh, we got another one for you. Herman Fest 2019 events.
Thank you, President Schmitz and councilors. The Park and Recreation Commission recommends that you authorize similar festivities as you have over the past number of years at Herman Heights Park and Harmon Park for the Herman Monument Society to produce Herman Fest the Saturday after Labor Day. We have the Society's president here, Tom Firth, who'd like to say a word or two.
Thank you, Tom. Tom Firth, 1026 15th North in New Ulm. Council President and councilors, I am the president of the Herman Monument Society, and we have been running Herman Fest down, as Tom said, in the Herman Heights Park and Harmon Park, and it's been very successful. The pinnacle of the entire event, of course, is the fireworks. We've had the same guy doing them for the same price, and yet people come up to me all the time and say, wow, they did better than last year. It's the same period of time, so I don't know how Irv Hammond's able to do it, but I've had other people describe it as, I think it's about a 17-minute display, and I've had people describe it as 17 minutes of finale. It really is something. To see it over the Herman Monument is quite a setting. So basically, I'm here to say thank you. We couldn't do it without you. We hope that my committee and I are doing our diligence and honoring the donation that the city makes for fireworks by putting the rest of this thing together.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know when we first put this together and approved spending for this, we didn't have any idea at that point how successful it was going to be and how everybody in the whole community turned out to watch the fireworks. I mean, you drive away from there, just everybody is out and they're having parties and they're having fun watching the fireworks and family. It's just a wonderful event, so I thank you and your group for continuing to do this. And originally it was a one-year event, I think, if you remember right, because I think you and I had some kind of, why don't we do this annually? This has really turned out cool. And the fireworks was great. So with a great pleasure, I'm going to offer a resolution, waive the reading to close Center Street between Garden and Highland on September 7th from 8:15 to 9 to accommodate the fireworks discharge during Herman Fest. And authorize all the rest of that stuff.
Does that have
Can I do that?
No.
I can't do that. Grant an exception to City Code, Section 8.200, Subdivision 3, to allow the discharge of cannons and fireworks during the event. Second, authorize the discharge of fireworks at Herman Heights Park during the event. Permission is required as the city is the owner. Allow the fire department to remain on standby at the fireworks discharge site should their services be required. This does not include crowd control or fireworks discharge activities. How's that?
Second.
Okay.
We got a motion and a second off the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none. Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Thanks, Tom. Both Toms. Item number 5.14, Park and Rec Department donations. A huge number.
I'll offer a motion to, or offer a resolution, waive the reading to accept these donations on behalf of my fellow counselor next to me who normally reads these but has no voice. $500 cash from Minnesota Valley Testing Labs, $500 cash from GOG Sheet Metal, $250 from Bank Midwest, $250 from Nuvera, $250 cash from South Point Financial Credit Union, $250 cash from Laraway Roofing, $100 cash from S&S Motors, $100 cash from DNA Trucking, $100 cash from Fastenal Company, $100 cash from Jensen Motors, and $100 from Neargarten and Hippert, $100 cash from All Store Incorporated, $100 cash from Saratoma Club, $100 cash from the Neubauer Family Chiropractic, and $100 cash from Pullman Lumber and Design. From Nell's Park Bench, an Artstone bench honoring Bob Wirtz, and Menagerie from the Menagerie alumni and supporters. And that total was $4,100 in cash and $1,520 value of the bench. So thank you to all, and the mayor is going to be busy tomorrow.
1 through 3.
You
You
skipped
missed,
the top
you missed
three.
the
This one?
top ones.
1 through 3.
$1,000 cash fulfilling his pledge from George Glotzbach, $100 cash from MRCI Bargains Thrift Store, and $100 cash from Roger Saxton and Margot Becker for the German Park paver stone and improvements. I'm sorry, the other one's 1,000 and the 100 were for the German Park Amphitheater. So,
Second.
wonderful.
We have a motion and a second accepting these donations. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Resolution.
Resolution. Offer resolution waived reading. Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. And
Thank
Mayor,
you.
you will be busy again. And I think it's very nice of all these donations we do get, so.
We can get lots. We're lucky.
Item number 5.15, Chamber Banner Committee update. Tom?
Hi. Tom Firth, 1026 15th North. Here on behalf of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I am the former chair as of the end of the year. And I've been on the Banner Committee. As you're all aware, the last of our banners pretty much got shredded a year ago in the April snowstorm. Expanded, contracted, blew off, ripped off. It was not pretty. And so, as you can see from up and down Broadway, we have no banners. So I've got a little PowerPoint here. Okay, thank you. I think I can do this just with the arrows. Yeah, all right. So this is basically just a picture down Broadway. I wanted to have a better picture that showed a lot more poles, but as I go up and down Broadway, it's really quite drab, other than the fact that there's no leaves on the trees and the snow's still melting, but it's going to be nice to get something back on those poles. This is our new corridor into New Ulm on 7th North, where we've got some new poles there. This is a picture of a couple of existing poles that have 4 brackets on them that will accommodate 2 banners. We have currently, let's see here, just to kind of tell you a little bit about the scope of the project. And I'm not sure if the email that I sent to Counselor Christian is in your packet or not. And why don't I see my numbers here? There's 89 banner poles on Broadway from 17th North to 12th South. And we haven't traditionally put banners on all those poles before, but we figured since we have poles on the median running that distance that we should try to put banners on them too. 14 of those 89 poles have no brackets on them currently. 34 of those 89 have 4, and 41 of those 89 have 2 brackets. And so there's a lot of additional bracketing that needs to be done on these poles in order to get it ready for our project. This is a close-up of the brackets and then the clamping mechanisms that go in the middle. And then we just recently got all of our banner designs in from the from Lime Valley. And I thought I'd bring those here today so you could take a look at them. We've got 20 attractions, and we'll rotate those 20 attractions across all the poles that we have. And as you can see, we've got Defender's Monument. These banners will go side by side. So the two banners will tell one story, and they'll be on each side. Okay? So imagine the pole down the middle. Defender's Monument, Dolmeyer's German Store, Brown County Museum, Cathedral of the Holy Trinity, Glockenspiel, German Bohemian Monument, Flanders State Park, the Harkin Store. That's actually kind of a nice picture of the Harkin Store. The one of the Harkin Store from the outside makes it look like one of our shacks up north, out in the woods somewhere. Kiesling, Johnson Park. We intend to give them the artist rendition of the Renew Johnson Park. You've all seen that picture, right? What Johnson's going to look like after the Renew project. Since we're not going to have the actual Johnson Park done by the time these banners are produced, we're going to try to use that rendition, which looks much better.
Yeah.
Herman Monument. Being the president of the Herman Monument Society, I'm going to have to find a different picture than that. I don't like that one at all now that I'm looking at it. Where's Herman?
Where is Herman?
Yeah. The Lind House, New Ulm Battery, Martin Luther College, Minnesota Music Hall of Fame, Shell's Brewery, Wanda Gog House, Veterans Memorial, Turner Hall, Way of the Cross, and that's it. So as you can see from those banners, imagine 89 of those two banner depictions going up and down Broadway. Those colors are all within our palette of colors that the city's been using. It's going to be very, very colorful coming down Broadway. And we're especially excited about the timing on this with the amateur baseball tournament coming to town in 2020. It's very important to the CVB not only to put heads on beds, not only to advertise 60 miles outside of New Ulm, but I think it's also important to give these travelers the best possible experience that they can get, so that they might be here for the state baseball tournament in 2020, and because of the everything like banners down Broadway, they say, what a beautiful town, let's bring our family back here again for a weekend, for a vacation or something. So banners are something that we hope only have to be replaced every 10 years. I think with the new fabrics and the new products that are out, we're hoping these will last 15 years. It's a synthetic material where the color is actually produced right into the material. Okay, so we've been working with the manufacturers a lot. We're going to try to grill them down for as much warranty as we can. The initial word we got was there was a 90-day warranty for fading. And I thought, well, 90 days is nothing. So, if we can negotiate at least a year out of them or something. But we're still working on those items. The reason I'm here today before you, other than to give you this update, is to ask for the city's help. We've calculated that the cost to add the additional brackets is about $16,000. This is obviously a one-time charge once we get 4 brackets on every pole in town. And then another $9,500 was quoted to us by the city to hang the banners. And so, that's correct, right? Yes. So that's what we're asking the council for today, is for $16,000 for the extra brackets, and then $9,500 in kind, basically for the hanging of the banners. We have a long way to go to finish our financing on this. We've got a grant into the New Ulm Area Foundation. We're going to maybe get some money out of the Big Chamber from their Oktoberfest profits. There's other places we're going to go for funding on this. It's a big project. It really is, and we could use your help.
What is the total cost for the banners?
The total cost of the whole project is sitting at about $60,000, and about $30,000 of that is for the banners. And so You take 30,000 divided by 15 years, maybe $2,000 a year for banners. And so going forward in the CVB budget, that may be what we put in there for banners going forward, is $2,000. We don't have anything in there for the current year because we've got a pot of money that we've been accruing over time. So the 30 for the brackets, and then you got the 16, the 9,500, and then we've got some consulting services from the company that has put all this together for us.
In my understanding, if I remember my numbers correctly from when I was on the CBB, 9,000 cars go up and down Broadway every day, I mean? Is that a right
I don't know
number?
the statistics.
You know that, Audra? Is that?
I do know that 8,000 cars go on the 1415 bridge coming into town on that road. So
Okay.
I would assume that Broadway would be more than that.
Yeah, because that's kind of a number that somebody had told me at one point. So it's a great advertising for our community when you got people driving through here for who knows what reason, let alone the locals, to have them maybe want to come back and go, I want to know more about some of these places. And so,
And Tom, one of the other things that you may think about is, as long as I've got my hand going to sign my name to all the thank you letters, you may want to take the time now to say anybody in the city that would like to donate to the Banner Fund, we would accept that.
And then,
Anybody that would like to donate to the Banner Fund.
and speaking of donation, we actually did receive $1,000 donation today for the banner project. So
wonderful.
it would be a $15,000 contribution from the
President,
city for that brackets.
Tom, I think you had stated that the 9,500 was for installing the banners.
Yes.
Is that for installing the hardware,
I think
the material?
I think it was installed.
Yes, for the installing the hardware, yes.
Thank you for
So it
clarifying.
is the, okay.
The city has traditionally put up and taken down the banners.
But you just want to get the hardware up,
This
so
is
it's.
for the hardware, yes.
It's 16 for the materials, 95 for
Thank you,
installing.
yes. It
Okay,
was for
thank you.
installing the brackets, yes.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's the street department that does that, and they've been contacted, and they're all in favor of it. Kurt's back there smiling.
Kurt's nodding his head, yes.
He's-
I think he's nodding in favor,
no, he's not nodding.
or nodding off.
Chris, you've had this, do you have where that money would come from? Because it was not budgeted for this year.
Yeah, it was not
correct?
budgeted, and I haven't had a chance to look into where we would pull that money from, but it would probably come from our general fund money pool.
If it was expensed this year, it would have to come out of the general fund balance.
So if they can wait, because they're still doing it, we can look to see if we can budget it for next year. You know, I mean, what was the timeline of you putting everything up?
We want banners on poles by Memorial Day,
Okay.
so we're really kind of under the gun. We want to get these up
Okay.
this year.
Have you had all the brackets already, or purchased, or manufactured?
We do not.
Okay.
The banners don't take long to produce them and ship them. If we don't get them up by Memorial Day, it's not the end of the world. That's our target. It kind of begins the tourist season in New Ulm, and I think there's a lot of people that come to New Ulm for Memorial Day activities out at the cemetery, etc. So it
You
would
could
be nice to-
prioritize too if you had to, if it's going to be done in sections or.
Yeah.
So how many hours, and maybe Kurt needs to answer it, or maybe he gave you an estimate of hours that it would take to put up those banners?
We do have an estimate of 64 hours at $149 an hour.
And how many manpower, how many guys would that take?
That I don't have.
Kurt will tell us.
Four
guys
for
for over a week.
over a week to do the poles on the banners.
Yeah.
The brackets have to be made. That hasn't been addressed. I don't know how fast that can be done.
So the brackets are made by,
We got a quote in town from American Welding.
okay,
to do that.
But they don't all need brackets, right?
no.
No.
Not all.
There's very few that don't. They add, and there's a bunch of twos that need four. So I think Tom had a list of the number of four that are up there already that won't have to be touched.
Okay.
But the majority of them
Well,
would have to be added, either 4 or 2.
okay.
So it's going to be time consuming, and, you know, we're in the second week of April already.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crunch time for
Don't
some
see
of
that
your.
Memorial Day being realistic, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
But we'll do our best, but.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be just, take those that do have the brackets on and just put some up and just keep working on the process, or you want to just start one end and go to the other?
Oh, a lot has, I don't know what their plan is on the layout of the, how complicated the layout's gonna be. I
Okay.
have no idea. I haven't seen it, so I don't know
That
if
would
it's
be
gonna be
confusing.
every 4 and then repeat the pattern, or.
That's pretty much the
Okay,
idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's 20 attractions, so they'll,
right, so, you know, depending on where we start, how that falls into the rotation as far as doing it partially. It'd be
Oh, yeah.
easier
Yeah.
for us to just put up all the banner poles and then just go
Right down.
right down the street, putting up the.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's something you could just, excuse me, work out with Tom, and
Yeah.
when we get done, we get done. That's all we can
Yeah,
do.
or, yeah, when we
I
get
mean,
it.
there's a lot of things on the,
That's a very busy time.
right.
I do want to make a comment. I visited with Kurt on this a month or 2 ago, and just a note, I'm not against doing this, I'm actually for it, but it does take 4 of our full-time employees from fixing Front Street or Center Street or items like
Yes, it
that.
does.
Just a note that it is going to take staff time.
Front Street is a priority, right?
I think it really adds to our city and is really going to brighten it up and provide a lot of advertising for our city, and so I'm going to go ahead and approve this request.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
One item I do want to mention about that is, I was iffy on this at first, but after talking to some people about it, and a gentleman approaching me, giving me $1,000 for the banners that he would like to see put on Broadway, I am for it now.
So if you got more money, you'd be more for it. All right. We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
You know, just one quick item, future discussion is, you can look at these banners, especially once we have the hardware up, as kind of a revenue generating system as well, because you can sell the advertising, if we want to preserve our banners, take them down for 6 months out of the year and have someone else put their banners up and they would pay us to do it, then we preserve our banners from the wear and tear, and you have some possibility of generating revenue, additional
good idea.
revenue for hardware that we put in. So it is something that we can possibly look for in the future, just throwing that out there.
City Manager, I do believe they do come down,
Okay.
because we put holiday ones up during the winter. And I think the Business and Retail Association is paying to have those produced. So that's kind of going on at the same time.
How did you derive at the $16,000 for the city?
16,000 was about 90 bucks a bracket times 174 brackets. So I actually went out and counted every pole and every bracket to see how many we would need.
So they're for the brackets. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not paying for the.
Here comes Kurt.
Banners.
That sound accurate?
Yeah, it is. It's roughly $90 in materials per pole, as Mr. First stated. So that's,
So then we own the brackets and we would replace them if
that's how it has happened in the past.
Okay.
And this is a finished bracket, so it's painted or powder coated or
It's galvanized.
galvanized. Okay,
That's what they've been in the past.
perfect.
They've held up.
Yes, they have.
Okay. Any other questions for Tom or Kurt? Seeing none, I believe we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Kurt?
Thank you.
We'll go to item
Last item.
5.16. Ordinance number 19-031, fifth series, first consideration. Nicole?
This was something that our office asked for. I know there was a lot of challenges with the snow this year, and we really ran into, with some of the city lots that have leased spaces in them. And we really had no power to get anybody to move their vehicles, so the lots could be cleared properly for everyone's use. So this was something we asked the attorneys to look into and put together for us.
Yes, Mr. President, I know we currently lease 4 spaces in the lot by the theater, and it was not plowed for weeks because they couldn't get into it. I mean, people wouldn't move their vehicles, and this at least would give some advance notice, give them an opportunity to get them out so that they could clear the lot so everyone could park. So that's the point of this, because there really isn't anything in the code right now.
So it's just an addition, it's not changing anything, it's addition?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And it's just the first consideration, so if you would like to waive the reading.
Oh, I suppose somebody would.
I'll offer to waive the reading. Is it, yeah, resolution? No, just offer to waive the reading.
I'll second.
We have a motion, and a second, to offer to waive the reading. Any more discussion?
My only concern is if we decide to pass this, that we just need to make sure we get some notification out to the community. And, I mean, part of the process does that, but then again, probably right before it starts snowing, we should probably
Yeah, it's
do a
something we
letter
can
to
let
the
the
editor,
leased.
do something that lets radio or stuff to let people know.
Well, we would have the leased, the addresses, because it's
exact- yep.
leased parking that they're
Yes.
having the problem with, so they would be able to
But
send
it's
them
probably
letters.
unleased people that are parking in there, right?
No.
Certainly been known to happen, but I think this year, I think these were
It was, they
leaseholders.
released spaces,
Right.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. But no more business. Meeting adjourned.